Deputy Collins, you've moved Amendment 2.
Yes, indeed.
You want to speak to it?
Absolutely. Look, Minister, I think this is a very fair amendment. You have to look at the type of work that a fisherman does, and if something as huge as penalty points is hoisted upon his back or her back, they need time, and need time to challenge probably an unfair conviction being put on them, and especially when you wouldn't accept the previous amendment is now left to a fisherman to fight an uphill battle, basically. And what I'm saying is the increased period of, we'll say, time to 60 days to allow submission in writing to be made to the department, to the panel from the date of notification from the SFP. That's not an unreasonable ask. It's just 30 days more than what you're giving in the first place. And these fishermen are out in the water, a lot of them working very hard. They haven't the time to come in and fight a case, which now they have to fight a case. It's a new penalty hoisted upon them. And in fairness, anybody that knows any about the court process, the person has to be there themselves and has to prepare their case. A case as big as this is an extremely serious situation for a fisherman. And we saw last week about, with the situation and the Russians and whatever, the livelihoods of the fishermen are seriously at risk. And they've been at risk for quite a long time, because both this government and the previous government have taken their eye completely off the ball in relation to protecting their income. So they're forced out into waters at any which time they can when they have an opportunity to catch the little bit of quota they're catching. So they might have to go 30 days on the go. They won't have a chance to come back in here and fight a case, which could be a very unfair case, because it looks like they're guilty anyhow if they're caught, and they're guilty if they're not guilty, or they're guilty if they are guilty. So they haven't the hope of winning, but at the same time, they're entitled to get some little bit of a chance. And as I said, and it has been brought up here tonight about the situation with the Russians, when nobody helped them last week, the Irish fishermen went out there and came up here, came in off the water, spoke to went to the Soviet embassy and spoke to the ambassador there, and they were able to turn it around when you minister, or when Minister for Foreign Affairs, or Taoiseach, or nobody. Well, I heard the Taoiseach this week was kind of taking the praise all right a little for it, but it's a little too late, because the whole country was falling around laughing at the way he failed the Irish fishermen. But that's just a continuation of failures by successive Irish ministers and Irish governments who failed to protect the Irish fishermen, who threw them out into the water. And in this situation, they took the law into their own hands. And the sad thing is now, they tell me the biggest mistake they could have made is why weren't they left to negotiate out in Europe during the Brexit negotiations? Because they would have come home with a result. We came home with a zero result. And it's a sad reflection as to what's going on there, to think that the fishermen themselves have to go and fight. They have to fight every inch of the way to succeed. And that's a sad situation that they find themselves in. And I speak to them on a daily basis. And I know that they're under severe pressure. And this 30 to 60 days is, if you're going to continue with this 30 working days, you're going to put more pressure on them, instead of working and cooperating with them with this terrible bill that's put before them anyhow. And I cannot understand for the life of me why you've such, I don't know what, misunderstanding or dislike, or what's inside in the department's thinking over the last maybe 20 years. As to be so anti-fishing, maybe the last 30, they might tell me, to be so anti-fishing, one of the greatest industries we could have in this country, something we could stand up and be proud of, the same as we were so proud of our agriculture. And the sad thing is you'll wipe that out too if you keep going the way you are. So what I'm saying is, it's a simple request. It's instead of 30 working days, substitute that with 60 working days, Minister, and give the fisherman every right and every chance he has to come home and fight his case, an unfair case maybe having to be fought in the first place, but I can't stop that process, I'd say, by the look of it, the way you're going, even though in fairness, I wish you were on this side, back with us again like you were before, and if you were, we'd have a different story here tonight from you. But we don't have that. We have a situation where the fishermen are going to be sold out one way or the other, if you can have your way. They've had a disastrous past 12 months. They've had gone from one crisis to another, the Wayne crisis, the Brexit, penalty points, decommissioning. Lord God, it's just piling one thing on top of the other. Is there any good news here? Is there any news you can get up tonight and say, okay, this penalty point system is going to go ahead, and we're Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are going to, well, forget about the Greens, they'll always go to do these things anyhow, but you're going to railroad ahead with this one way or the other. Is there any hope you get up tonight and say, do you know what, I've succeeded in getting quota for you, so we can turn things around a small bit and make them think that they may survive in what is a crisis situation that they face at this time. And I'd ask you, Minister, that at least you have a mind change on this 30 to 60 days and give them, at least show some bit of respect. That's what this amendment is about, is to give them the respect and give them a stronger chance to defend themselves when they're probably in the right and deserve the right to defend themselves, and they can't do that in the 30-day period. That's what they've told me. That's what I'm relaying the message back to you on behalf of the fishermen of this country. Please stand up for them. Fianna Fáil stood up for them one time. They're turning their back on them now because there's been sacrifice for some other sweet deal somewhere else along the line. That's what's going on here for years. Don't anyone think you've been fooled here in any other way. And I have to, touch on the SFP while I'm here today. There's a shocking relationship out there between the fishermen and the SFP. That should never be there. There should be a working relationship there. And that's something, Minister, that you will have to work hard on going forward. Is the SFPA now going to be the whipping boys here too with the penalty points? Because they've been the whipping boys against the ordinary fishermen for the past 30 years, aided and abetted by successive continuous governments. Now it's time to change. It's time to turn out and fight for that fisherman and fight for their rights, whether it is in this country or in Europe. You are the man at the helm to do that, and you failed to do that so far.
Thank you, Deputy Pring.